This is actually a perfect segue because I see in chat we're talking about, right, like words have meaning. You got to use the right words. You said, indeed, there's no problem as long as the audience is clear in what we mean. Otherwise, it's pointless. Well, pointless is a funny thing because it proves sort of the bubbled perspective I'm about to jump into here with Hasan fans. Again, my criticism of Hasan fans is not of Hasan himself. If I want to criticize Hasan, I will criticize Hasan through his work. Obviously, I make content that hopes to bring people in so we can have larger conversations about meaning. This is a philosophy channel, so that's what we're doing here. So, you know, Hasan is a celebrity. He is not your friend. He is not your neighbor. He is not a small-time creator. He is, at this point, a celebrity. So I'm treating him like Tucker Carlson or Jordan Peterson or something else. Like, he's just a famous guy who goes trending, and I'm going to use him to have a larger conversation about systems, oppression, philosophy, and the sense of meaning that we are all so obviously desperate for, right? So I got a comment from somebody, they were going back and forth with me, and they were a quote Hasan fan, but that's not the important part here. The important part here is they don't understand what I'm saying, because I'm using words I think are very obviously clear about my intentions, right? And yet, that's why I have my theory of bubbles and my, you know, I'm pointing it out because it's a universal understanding that we don't really embody. We don't all see the world the same way. Congratulations. It's almost like that was obvious. And yet you were in my comments saying things like, Brittany, check your blind spot and see why you see Hasan this way and deconstruct. As someone who watches both of you, you are fighting the same fight. Check who is your actual enemy. Joke's on you. I have no enemies. How can you say you watch me and not know that I have no enemies? Why would you say this? This is what I'm saying. I have no enemies. I've said this for years. I have no enemies. I do not blame you. I don't believe in punishment. I have no enemies. So how could you come here and write this blockade, this literal novel, write this literal novel to me and end with, check who is your actual enemy. Now, maybe you meant to write enema, and then the conversation changes. But you wrote enemy. I have no enemies. No enemies. Okay? Second Hasan commentator. Again, this isn't about Hasan. This is about you, Habibi. You. Now this is your character that's under the microscope, okay? You said, did you even listen to what he said there? He said the trans bathroom ban failed for the first time around because people thought it was weird. So Republicans went back to the drawing board and came back with an angle of sports, then managed to get their bans through. With peace and love, practice listening comprehension. I went back and forth with this person, so they edited their comment to say, I was being way too aggressive in my phrasing. The problem is that even with Brittany being correct in her overall point, at this specific part, she's misrepresenting Hasan's point, thereby weakening her argument, even of her overall point being correct. Just because you didn't get my point didn't mean I was misrepresenting him. I'm not misrepresenting him. I'm saying this is his blind spot. This is the blind spot of class consciousness or Marxism or whatever you guys keep pushing, that you are neglecting to recognize how much people are bigoted. And bigotry is stronger than the desire to come together to fight oppressors. They would rather their own children starve than link arms with people they don't think are worthy of them. And I know this because I've read thousands of books and I've talked to thousands of people and I interact with a lot of conservatives. The same people that were too lazy to care about trans bathrooms before weren't less lazy the second time around. There were just more factors at play here. If they were not transphobic, okay, then the rebranding and the marketing wouldn't have mattered, right? So I went back and forth with this person and I'm trying to get people to understand Hasan is a person we're using to have a larger conversation. I do not think I misrepresented his point, okay, right? And they said, in this short bit, you make it sound like Hasan thinks that no transphobic policies have been passed. I don't even know where they got that from. I don't even know how they got that, but if that's the way that it sounded, that's not what I'm saying, nor do I think it's what I said. I'll play the clip for you, okay? They said as if he is talking about current day when he says the bathroom bills have failed. Meanwhile, he's talking about how bathroom bills have failed the first time around and that Republicans have to change their strategy to succeed. So you saying he's in la la land when talking about the fact that bathroom bills failed the first time around, this is a misrepresentation of his point. Look, this might be autism on autism crime, girl, but let's watch the clip, okay? So here, I'm going to move present Brittany. Okay, so today's Brittany. I'm going to move her. Okay, so it's a little wonky. Okay, former Brittany's in the left-hand corner. I'm going to press play at the timestamp, a little bit before the timestamp they give, so you can see context.
Two key issues, right? protecting children and also sports, which is
Fairness
perceived
in
as
sports.
which is perceived as like the last bastion of meritocracy in this country. So they actually went back to the drawing board and focus tested these messages. They realized that if you just directly attack trans people and say trans people are gross or weird, or they should, not use the bathrooms that their gender corresponds to, people were like, yeah, that's odd. Why are you singling out trans people? I don't
No, people said, yeah, I agree with that. Trans women in sports were just banned. They just did a whole thing. They just banned trans women in sports recently. Like I understand he is living in la la land. He is living in such a bubble. We all live in bubbles, but he's in la fucking land. Okay. This was posted 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, the Olympics just banned trans women. Don't you get that the only reason that worked is because people are transphobic? Don't you understand that there is no sign that America is less transphobic? I don't understand how he got here.
care. I don't really understand it, but I also don't think we should be this unfair to them.
But they don't care.
When you pair it with like protecting children and sports, all of a sudden it's an 80-20 issue, as they love to say, right? And many people retreated from that conversation. They allowed the hundreds of millions of dollars in messaging campaigns to just completely dominate the collective consciousness. I was not one of these people that entertained it at all. In my experience, one of the best ways that I've figured out in like dealing with this kind of thing is just say, do you actually care about this? Because I don't think
this is his arrogance. This is his ego. He said this about the MAGA parents. When you really talk to them like people, they really care about you. They still vote MAGA. They're still transphobic. They're still anti-black. They're still racist. It doesn't matter how nice they are. A lot of people are nice to us. I'm sure I've talked to lots of nice Nazis and I didn't realize they were Nazis. What does that matter? If in their everyday life and the way they're raising their children, right? Like, what does that matter? Chat says, I think he's going off vibes, honestly. Bro, I literally think he's going off vibes. He's like, I don't know, people are nice to me. So I assume they're nice to gay people. Like, people are nice to Austin, so it must be okay. It's like, no. And then you have Laverne Cox, God bless her, coming on this podcast to talk about how she dated a 26-year-old MAGA white cop and how she was in love with his spirit during lockdown in her 40s. Why do these people think they're progressive? Why do these people think they're progressive? Okay. Man, President Brittany talking. I'm fucking funny. Man, I'm funny. I don't think I'm misrepresenting Hasan's point, right? Because his overall point and the overall point of class consciousness and Marxism, I suppose, I don't know, I'm so confused here, is they really believe, and I don't know what is happening, that if we come together to realize there's a class disparity and that it's not about identity politics, then all of a sudden we'll lift all of us up into some sort of equality, egalitarian, I don't even know, that will eventually eradicate bigotry, as if bigotry isn't a biological experience burned into us for millions of years that we have had to have a deeper relationship with and deconstruct, right? Like, I'm like, this is just making so much more sense to me now that I've interacted with more of these comments where I'm like, oh, you actually think that white people, somebody left a comment. Hold on. Did I highlight it in any of these posts? Wait, maybe I didn't highlight it. Somebody left a comment that said, go visit rural Kentucky and you'll recognize they just care about feeding their kids. They don't care about your identity issues. And I'm like, you guys underestimate bigotry. Like you underestimate bigotry to such a degree that I think you mistake like pinkwashing and like marginalized communities being utilized by capitalism as the point of my work. I know that capitalism is a disgusting framework and system, right? I agree with you. Look, okay, I love the overall framework that Marx is talking about. Cool, bro, I'm with you, right? And also, are you actually so fucking ignorant to the strength of bigotry that you think if you give white Southern Confederate flag flying Nazis fucking free healthcare, that they're not gonna be racist or that it doesn't matter? So then some people are saying, yeah, like it won't matter. Like, you can build armies with fascists or racists, maybe not fascists, but maybe racists to move the class consciousness forward or whatever. I hear you. I hear your thought. But I caution you from thinking this is probable based off of human history. And I'm going to use an example that I think might sound funny to you to make this clear to you that I think this is why it's funny. And look, maybe I'm biased because I'm using Britt Hartley's work and a lot of women's work to point this out because I think it's important. But just like Christians of the modern day and the Christians over time have never actually embodied Jesus's teachings, I'm not sure why you think that the humanity is going to come together in some class consciousness way and move the world forward. Right? Like, Jesus is the example of why class consciousness is never going to happen. Because even if you take him at his most reductive philosophical like belief system, then Christians should be the most compassionate, the most loving, the most giving, the least bigoted. But they couldn't do that. So I like I said, I'm not opposed to your framework. I just think it's not realistic. And what's more realistic is radically accepting that you cannot have a class consciousness. You can only accept what human beings are, which is animals on a planet, and then you can try to do less bad every day. Right? So let me show you Britt Hartley's commentary on the recent stuff with Jesus and Trump, because it's so important. So Trump, obviously, if you guys haven't seen, Trump put out this AI post where he said he was Jesus, and he's now saying, no, it was me depicted as a doctor. I didn't know it was Jesus. I thought I was a doctor. It's obviously not a doctor. It's Jesus. Christians are mad, including my own parents, by the way. Huge news for the Simon household is even my parents were pissed, which is hilarious because they've never been pissed about pedophilia or Epstein or anything else. But all of a sudden, Trump says he's Jesus, and the Christians are fucking freaking out. Okay. So again, the point is that you're trying to make people something that they aren't, right? So big deal. They think he's possessed by the devil, apparently, according to my siblings. Okay. Cause I'm not talking to them right now. Open with boundaries. Here's Britt Hartley explaining why, this doesn't mean anything. Right. And then I'm going to show you a Christian's reaction to the Trump thing that just makes it clear why I think you guys are interesting to me, but feels silly. Okay, let me show you. Here's Britt.
Talked about how some Christian Trumpers are upset over the Jesus Trump picture and how it's because when religion fuses with identity, then you end up defending the symbols of the religion more than the actual faith itself. And the Christian response that I'm getting is that, no, that's oversimplifying. We're not just identifying with Jesus as a symbol. We have an actual relationship with Jesus, and that's why it's offensive. And the reason that I don't buy this collective argument is because a true follower of Jesus would be offended by the things that Jesus was most offended by. And Jesus was most offended by people who hurt children or protect people who hurt children or people who hurt marginalized and vulnerable people. Jesus was offended by religious hypocrisy and fake holiness for public praise. Jesus was offended by using God for money or power. Jesus was offended by any kind of cruelty towards the poor or the sick or the outsider or the immigrant or the powerless. Jesus was offended by political leadership that burdened others to protect themselves. And Jesus was very offended by public displays of faith that had no heart behind it. Things like taking a picture with a Bible without knowing anything that's in there. Jesus was not offended by bad optics. That's not something that bothered Jesus. He was offended by hypocrisy and exploitation and harm. So if you're telling me that you were offended by that picture because of your relationship with Jesus, where were you with all the other things? Where were you when Trump was violating the same things that Jesus called out? And if you weren't there for any of those times, but you're showing up being offended because of a picture, then absolutely this is more about identity than any kind of relationship with Jesus. Now, I will say I know people, and there are people that genuinely are followers of Christ in a way that they become better people through their interaction with the stories of Jesus in the Bible. I know these people, these incredibly beautiful people that I know that are like that. But these are people that are not more offended by AI slop than other things that Trump has done. And later in this comment, I was accused with having a lack of empathy, like I'm picking on Trumpers. But actually in my video, I talked about how this is what happens with all religion when religion is fused with identity, that you will defend the symbols of religion more than the true heart and soul of the religion. So my empathy is, as I'm describing this behavior, I'm describing it as a human behavior and why it happens versus picking on a specific kind of human. So if you are a Christian and you do listen to my videos, I would pay very strong attention to what offends you about Trump, because that will tell you a lot about yourself.
Exactly. Okay. Same thing with everything that I do too. I'm not picking on Hasan or somebody else. I'm using him as an example. It's really a question of the audience's reaction. You should wonder why you are so offended on his behalf when being criticized or called out. Like, does he want to be a famous person or not? Does he want to be one of the players or not? You cannot be one of the players and not expect people to make videos about you. Which one is it? Oh, I want to be just a guy, but I also don't want people to make videos about me. Also, I want to be famous and interviewed by everybody, but also I don't want any criticism. Also, you guys can't keep treating it both ways. Which one is it? The burden of being responsible is you bear the weight of the criticism. The burden of being somebody in the room with a microphone is you bear the burden of the criticism. So you're doing this thing again where you don't understand the irony of you coming into my chat is it's a reflection of your character, not Hasan's. You are telling me who you are, not telling me who he is. You're the one, right, who's giving me insight into, okay, now, because Hasan isn't the, he isn't his whole audience. I know for a fact, at least probably 30 to 40%, right? He said it himself. People who watch him regularly are haters, right? I mean, who would we be without our haters, really? But that's the point, right? So here's a Christian reacting to the depiction of Christ that Trump did. And I just want you to see that this is the point. Like, Christians and bigoted people, racists, they would rather their own family, their own religion, their own everything literally get demolished than shake hands with who they think the oppressors are, who they think their enemy is, because they think they have enemies. Just like this commenter said, Brittany, think of who your real enemy is. You don't understand, right? I just want you to go back to this comment really fast before I show you this video. They said, I don't know why you've been so anti-Hasan lately when you know who is his enemy. He has no enemies. This obsession with enemies. You sound like a Christian. You sound like a religious person. Enemies. And they are not who you've mentioned in the video, trans, queer, black people, women, because it's just lies. And I don't think I'm just glazing Hasan, no, I'm defending the truth. Just like when Destiny Orbiter was talking shit, making shit about you, I've stood by and defended you just like this, because I watch you and I know what you fight for. And I'm at the end, I'm defending the truth. At the end, I'm defending the truth. It's like, girl, stop fighting for me in comments. Cringe. That's what I'm saying. Stop fighting for me in the comments. You can fight for me in my own comments, but I don't need you to defend I know I'm right. You don't have to do my work for me. I know. I like watching you guys go back and forth in my own comments, but like you saying like, I fought for you. Okay. And see how we can't, how are they out here talking about Brittany, don't go against Hasan, when you're coming, you know what I'm saying? Like, no. Okay, now this is what everyone sounds like to me. Okay, here's this Christian.
An influencer with over 2 million followers, Ryan Miller, a Christian influencer with over 2 million followers across his social media. And he reacted to President Trump's now deleted post in a video that he posted on Instagram. Take a look.
Can I just speak for 95% of Christians out there and say, we are really tired of this. This is blasphemy. You've got angels that are soldiers or something. You've got Donald Trump clearly portraying himself as God. This is exactly what the Bible calls blasphemy.
All right, Ryan. So that video now has over 1 million views right now. You posted it knowing that you'd probably lose some followers. Why?
Well, I don't care. The Lord has pruned the followers out of my heart. And at this point, I'm looking at a president right now who I voted for twice. I agree with a lot of his policies. I think I can, like I said in the video, I speak for about 95% of the Christians out there. And I say a lot of what Trump has done, we agree with. But there has been a shift. I don't think Trump just doesn't like Jesus. I think he probably likes a lot of what Jesus says. I think a lot of what Trump says is hyperbole. He's trying to get a rise out of people. This is blasphemy. And if we don't call it out as Christians, what we're going to lose is not just the fear of the Lord in the Oval Office. We're going to lose the fear of the Lord as a country. This is a sad day for America, because we should not be so prideful to think that the Lord can't remove his hand of favor from our country. And when you have a president who is openly mocking our Lord, who He's coming back with a sword coming out of his mouth. He's coming very soon. When he's doing that, there is room to honor him, to honor his office. He is still my president. I agree with a lot of what he's done. This is blasphemy, and it's not okay.
Well, and you say that word blasphemy, and it turns out that that word specifically is now trending higher than usual, as you can imagine. So help us understand, what is blasphemy?
Blasphemy is speaking irreverently about God. God is clearly laid out in the scriptures. He will not be mocked. We will stand before him one day. Isaiah and John stood before him, and they fell flat on their faces, and they said, woe is me, I'm a dead man. I'm a man of unclean lips, and I come from a people of unclean lips. So the call to the Christian, and I believe the call to the world, is to understand that, yes, Jesus is the lamb that was slain for us for our sins, but he is the Lion of Judah, and he's coming back with a sword coming out of his mouth. And we're seeing the birth pains. We're seeing these things ramp up. And I think this is one of them, where we have the most powerful leader in the world, a man that I have supported, a man that I deeply respect the office of the presidency. And now he is openly mocking my God. You see, I honor the president. I submit and I surrender and I serve my God. And this was a line that he crossed that I think a lot of Christians are really upset about.
Ryan, is his explanation enough? The one that he said he thought that he was shown as a doctor?
You know, I don't know Trump's motives. What I do know is to pay attention to patterns. And we've seen a few of these patterns now. We've seen him posting, this AI generated video about Gaza. Meanwhile, there are thousands in Gaza that are being killed. It's not the time to joke about that. We saw him post the Obamas as monkeys. And then, a lot of people come to his defense like, oh, it was his staffer. It wasn't really him. Well, you are the highest office in the United States. You are the commander in chief. Your call is to be dialed, and your call is to honor, and your call is to lead our country. So do I buy it? No. Do I still honor and respect the office? Yes. Do I want to call him higher? Because again, right now, what is lacking, Trump will say, I respect God, but I don't think he fears God.
All right, Ryan Miller, thank you so much.
So just to be fair, just to be clear, this is the kind of guy that Hasan's like, get him on the show, collab. This is the kind of guy that they're saying we have to build coalition with because he's anti-Trump. We could get him on our side. This guy's going to be on Hasan's show in the next week, I guarantee you. That's a joke. But that's what I'm saying, no. And I'm saying, listen, I understand and I agree to an extent that we do have to build coalition and community with people that, and also no. And that's the argumentation that they're saying. They're saying, Brittany, you have to put aside the differences in your identity, and you have to get as many anti-Trumpers, any people who are even sitting on the fence about Trump on your show. And I'm like, no, or in your coalition, based off of the comments that I'm getting, right? Based off of how I understand Hasan's strategy in the game that he's playing, because he's playing a political game, right? And I'm saying, no. I'm saying I am sick, because we've done it for literally ever, trying to build coalition with bigoted people. It doesn't work. And now you'll say, but then how are you going to change anything? Oh, you don't. You're still playing a game, a child's dream of changing the world. What are you, the Avatar? You don't change the world. The world changes itself. This is why this commenter was like, Brittany, stop. You're fueling Hasan's enemies. Girl, what do I have to do with this man? You're on the same team. I am not on a team with this man. We're on the same side. Girl, the man hasn't even been to therapy. I don't even know what side he's on. I am not on your team. I don't know you. What I am not doing, what I think you want me to do, is ignore his flaws, ignore the things he says, pretend he doesn't say them for the good of the movement. Is that not the perfect makeup for every abuse scandal we've ever heard? Isn't that exactly how every abuse scandal happens? People in positions of power that are doing the most, women especially, are told not to speak up, because didn't we just see that? How many women have come out recently about all of these leaders, all of these activists, right? We've covered it on stream, that were silenced because of, quote, how much good these men were doing for the movement. No, I know this game. I'm not going to play it with you. You know what I mean? I'm not about to play this game with you. Now, again, Hasan's enemies and these men going back and forth. How much more patriarchal can we get? That's what I'm saying. All these boys playing games about enemies. The word enemy is a patriarchal word. It comes from colonization. It comes from, not literally, I'm not making a academic claim. I'm making a spiritual claim. I'm making a human claim that this obsession with taking over each other's kingdoms, this obsession with genociding populations, this idea of an enemy is weaponized by patriarchal systems that tell us the only way to move people forward is to kill or destroy or take. And I'm saying I'm not going to engage with that. This is why people say matriarchy isn't the opposite of patriarchy. It's the desire to focus on the most vulnerable community, the children, the most vulnerable community, the earth. You cannot live in a world with enemies and say you care about children. Children have no enemies. Why do you? If children were the focus, we don't want to raise children in a world with enemies. We want to raise children in a world with compassion and understanding. And this is why I do like Sapolsky's work, because Sapolsky kind of encourages a much more compassionate perspective when people harm or cause harm, right? It's to say, we're upset. We're humans. We're having an experience. This is an upsetting situation. Our instinct will be to harm and to punish. Our solution should be to wait, pause, and bring about less bad, to harm reduce in some capacity. Okay. So when we have these conversations and people are in my chat saying like Hasan's enemies, Brittany, Hasan's enemies, girl, the enemy of Hasan is Hasan. Hasan's greatest enemy is himself. As is all of our greatest enemies is ourself. It's the mirror. If we have any enemies, it is ourselves. And I would say even then, I have no enemies. Okay? Even then, I have no enemies. So when we have these conversations, you have to understand, right? This obsession with like, oh, well, you said this and they said this and that's. I think we are animals on a planet evolved over millions and millions of years, having a biological experience, and the greatest thing we could do for all of humanity. And by the way, since we're not the center of the universe, non-human animal life, plant life, all inanimate objects, is to take a deep breath and think, what have I done, the I that is even an illusion of itself, to contribute to the harm? And how do I be less bad every day? Okay. I think my partner and I spent like 3 hours this morning while I was getting ready for stream talking about recycling more efficiently. And I just thought like, I love talking about recycling while these fucking pedophile gangs are literally like blowing up and genociding other countries. But the irony is you can't stop recycling because they're genociding populations, because they've always been doing this. Every marginalized community has been screaming for generations. They've genocided us. They genocided us. And all you've said is, man, class consciousness. And I'm like sitting here thinking, you're not understanding that human beings are an animal species and we are the problem. So I love the class consciousness concept. I love a framework, girl. I hear you. I'm on board. And also, I'm not about to get behind this white man, but I know you guys are saying this is the identity politics. I'm saying Karl Marx is a man brought up in a world that was incredibly bigoted. He himself cannot be without fault. In the same way, Hasan is a man raised in white supremacy. He cannot be without a fault. I am Brittany, white woman raised under white supremacy, cannot be without fault. Like, you think we don't internalize these things. You think we're not carrying the weight and the burden of our ancestors, like we're not carrying the weight and the burden of the world. I'm not advocating for some capitalistic faux Democrat solution of, uplifting Black voices by convincing them to be capitalists. Like, no, that's not going to save Black communities either. Capitalism isn't going to save any of us. And yet, it's not going to save any of us either to be so married to the myth of a man that we identify not only with him and others, but we prop these men up like they are our saviors. We have no saviors, not even Jesus himself. This obsession with making man your savior. Talk about decentering men. My chatter, somebody asked me, Brittany, can you talk about what decentering men means? Decentering men, right, is sort of because it's so ingrained in us, we don't even know. When you decenter men at levels, right? Interpersonally, government, and then philosophically, because we're taught through patriarchy to center the male, the man, the concept and myth of man as the end all be all of intelligence, strength, capability, wisdom. You know, we're literally trained from birth to think, which is why we chase, regardless of our gender, the myth of man, the myth of the hero, the myth of the wise ruler, the myth of the strong leader, the myth. We're chasing a myth that has been ingrained in us forever, and it continues to be ingrained in us forever. I mean, look at this man so casually talking about Jesus coming back with a sword. And then he's like, oh, but Trump was also anti-black, and he posted anti-black memes, and like, this is really bad. And also left out the pedophilia, and also left out Epstein, and also left out the rape, and also left out everything else. But please do not pause, or no, please do not look, just move past the whole Jesus coming back with a sword. Like, keep in mind, this man thinks you're going to hell. This man literally thinks, I am going to hell. And then you're like, hey, let's build coalition with him. Sure, girl. Like, feed him, clothe him, give him universal health care, all that stuff. And also, I'm not about to do a podcast with him. No. I will be good to him. He is my neighbor. I will not be good to him. He is not my coworker. And that's what you want, because you want that method of violence to be ignored, that method or that framework of bigotry to be ignored for some version of humanity that's never existed. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. And you keep thinking it's going to happen because you're not willing to contend with the reality that you're the problem. We are all the problem. We are responsible for the state of the world as a whole. You can blame everybody else because that's what you're doing. But if you stopped blaming, you would have to be responsible. And you would have to contend with the reality that you don't even have as much control or free will as you think. And so then you'd have to really accept that humans really are this way because they are this way. So when people are in my chat screaming at me like, Brittany, you're fighting against Hasan, we need to come together as a collective. Okay, girl. I mean, I'm on board. And also, I'm not about to keep my mouth shut when I see bullshit. And that's what you want, right? I am here in such good faith. I really am. I want the world to free itself of its burdens, but it can't actually do that all at the same time. You have to let people come to that realization on their own. I can't even get Hasan to accept that he has flaws. The world is a reflection of us as a whole, and all of us have contributed to bad things in the universe. All of us. So I'm not going to ignore the bad for the sake of the good. I mean, isn't this capitalism's argument? Isn't this everyone's argument? Oh, utilitarians, like for the greater good. No. Because the real greater good is all of us or none of us. The real greater good is literally all of us or none of us. Because you keep settling. You keep settling for a life that we've all settled for forever, which is, at least I have a house. I know they don't have a house, but at least I have a house. I know they have to live in a bigoted neighborhood, but at least I don't have to live in a bigoted neighborhood. And I'm saying no bigotry. Everyone is responsible for their bigotry. Because if you weren't bigoted, you wouldn't care about housing people. If you weren't hateful, you wouldn't care about healthcare. If you weren't literally racist, you wouldn't care about welfare queens or whatever the racist bullshit people come up with. Who cares? Over my lifespan, over my personal life, right? I have literally deconstructed away from these Republican talking points by having the realization like, oh, I don't care. Like, in a good way. Now, Hasan might say, oh, people don't care about trans people, but he means it in a bad way. Yeah, I know they don't care about trans people. They don't care about trans people so much they fall for Republican rhetoric about trans people. I know they don't care about black people because the moment Republicans weaponize racism against black communities, other people are willing to pick up on it because their rent is too high. I don't care in a good way, meaning I value you, you exist the way you do. Exist in a way that moves us all forward. But you have to understand that they when Hasan says like, oh, I try not to focus on like these identity politics because it's a distraction, what he's really saying is I'm not willing to deconstruct my internalized bigotry or prejudice or my non-internalized, right? My just claim like bigotry and prejudice. When you say I'm not going to pay attention, it's a distraction. It's not a distraction. It's people's real lives. And it is not going to be solved by moving the world out of poverty. It's going to be solved by moving the world out of bigotry, because why poverty when not bigoted? This is my solution. The solution away from patriarchal framework says humanity must show compassion and love. That love and compassion to suffer with moves people forward. That recognizing people's struggle and it's not so black and white allows you to be patient with people that are not in the place you are. So you can do this game you want to play, and I think it's fine. I didn't expect any different. But if a man's solution is only to ignore bigotry in the name of class consciousness, It is to ignore the human condition for what it is. It is a very dark experience to be a person on the planet where your father is raping you. I'm not sure building coalition with your rapist father out of a need to sort of deconstruct capitalism or dismantle capitalism is really going to fix the fact that I have to go home to my rapist father. I don't have a rapist father, for the record. But I think you're missing the point that we also have to contend with ourselves. Like, you're doing this thing where you're taking away the humanity part of our reality. You're saying human beings are only this way because they can't pay rent, instead of recognizing we are this way because we are who we are. That was really hard for me to recognize, though, and to accept, because it sounds like I'm now saying we can't do anything about it. But I would argue, no, it's the opposite, that we are animals. And once you accept that, you do greater things. You do better things. You know, if progressives are Marxists, maybe, or if anti-capitalists were actually so much anti-capital, they'd also be vegans, which a lot of them are, by the way. But not vegans, maybe they'd be plant-based, which a lot of them are, by the way. Hasan isn't, though, right? Hasan's not a plant-based person, right? I'm saying it's interesting to me the way that he lacks embodied beliefs, okay? And I'm saying there are things that are so easy to incorporate into your life that I'm surprised you're not incorporating them. But why would you? Because you don't have free will. You can't. I couldn't go plant-based until I could go plant-based. I didn't have the ability to, because I didn't have the free will. Just like class consciousness, you're trying to get people on board, but they couldn't even. Luigi Mangione slaughtered a man in front of us and shit didn't happen. Because it's not, you can't just force people to do something. It is not within our biological nature to do something until we're ready. You can't get people to care until they can. Because they have to have an embodied reality shift. They actually have to change who they are. You can't just say, hey, do this thing, I really care about it. And I know, because I'm saying, hey, Hasan, I really care about this thing. Do you care about it? And you guys are saying, he can't be bothered with that right now. Oh, okay. So you agree. You have no free will. I was like, okay, you agree. You can't just do it. Because we can't. We can't just do it. So yes, love it. Love class consciousness. All about it, girl. Vibes, okay? I'm about to put it in my header. I'm about to put it in my bio. Love it. And also, class consciousness can't happen, I think, until you eradicate bigotry from your assumed default position. And that does mean that who you build coalition with must also value humanity at its core for what it is. And it can't make it the center of the universe. Okay? So I hear you. I get it. I'm just like a small YouTuber on the internet that people keep thinking is like riding the coattail of Hasan, which, by the way, let me show you this comment. It made me gag. It was so funny. Hold on. Let me show it to you. This is not a real comment. I mean, it's a real comment, but I'm not going to take it seriously. And I would never accuse them of actually being a real person, right? They said, this is such a bad look for you. Hasan is single-handedly moving America to the left on the issue of Israel, Palestine, and attacking him when he's arguably at the height of his influence just comes off as petty and out of touch. He's waking people up to literal genocide campaigning with progressives in Michigan and building an on-the-ground grassroots movement while you sit safely behind a computer and get mad at him because he says kind of shitty things about women. Maybe get a little bit of perspective and pop your bubble, as you like to say. I'm going to assume this is a troll. Like, this isn't a real human being who's serious. But if they are serious, it also makes sense within the framework of their belief that I have to put aside shitty things he says about women because he's doing so much work for the movement. How many times are we going to do this? How many times are we going to let men get away with shitty behavior because they're doing so much, quote, for the movement? How much could you be doing for the movement if it comes at the expense of minorities and vulnerable communities? Okay? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you cannot expect me to be on your side with this argumentation. This argumentation is what I heard my whole life growing up conservative. You know that? We know you want to be gay. We know it's important to you. But think of the children. Think of humanity. Think of your soul. Can't you put being a gay aside for the betterment of everybody else? Can't you just think about it? Think about all the kids you're influencing, and think of all the harm that's being done. Instead of, hey, maybe you're bigoted. Just ignore all the horrible things Hasan has said about women because he's doing so much for the movement. That was Basim's argument, right? That was his argument. I'm going to hang out with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens because, you know, right? And then what did Mahdi Hasan say to him? He said, no. He's like, go fuck yourself. Basically, he said, no. He said, I'm worried you, for the sake of the genocide, are going to ignore all the harm these communities have done, all the harm Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson has done for this one issue. And I'm like, yeah, no. Because guys, I don't know if you know this genocide will happen, as it's always happened before with every other minority community, again and again and again and again and again and again, until you deconstruct your bigotry. Yes, I agree that we support Palestine, even though some Palestinians might be homophobic. But that does not work the other way. It does not work the other way to say, I will make good with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens for the sake of Palestinians. That is not the same thing as defending Palestinians who some might be anti-gay. These are not analogous. They are totally different kinds of social structures. They're totally different relationships. So when you sit there and that's your argumentation, you are just creating excuses. Bigotry is why we can justify the murdering and genocide of brown kids around the world, because we are taught through racism that they don't matter and they're less. We're taught through, America propaganda that they are literally less. How could you think they're less and not be racist? I'm saying if you weren't racist, they wouldn't be able to use this marketing against you. If you weren't bigoted, they wouldn't be able to get you on board with the genocide. If you weren't bigoted, they couldn't convince you it's for your safety. It's because of your prejudice and bigotry that they're able to market a genocide to you, and you ignore it. Do you know what I'm saying? What is this class consciousness? Let me show you the clip for those who didn't see it the other day.
Why don't you like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson?
Because they've said some horrific things over the years.
So what?
Listen, so what? That's patriarchy. So what? So what? That's patriarchy. Not so what? That's what you're saying about Hasan. So what? No.
Why don't you like Ben Shapiro?
Piers Morgan has said the horrible things over the years.
He's not said anything close.
Piers Morgan is a piece of shit. You shouldn't be working with him either. And by the way, this is how I see Hasan now, for the record. Hasan now is Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Basim. He is this type of male person who gets on stage and goes, I'm going to make compromises with who I talk to because it's good for my job and it creates a lot of controversy. And also anyone who goes on Jubilee. So even Mahdi, I disagree with too, like him going on Jubilee and stuff like that, which, even he said was, what the fuck was that? But I'm saying Hasan is now a celebrity. You have to stop treating him like he's just your best friend streamer. He's not your best friend. He's going to the big leagues. And now he's just a popular, famous person. So when we comment about him, you cannot defend him like he's your friend. He was never your friend. He is now just okay? That's the point.
Yeah, so what? About Muslims, about Arabs, about immigrants.
And why can't we be strategic and use their platforms?
They can.
Yeah, but
some people do.
You don't like that. You don't like.
No, it's not that I don't like it. It's that my worry is that for the sake of one important issue, Gaza is a huge issue. We're giving a pass to these people to launder some of their other objectionable. Like I said just now, they're not disowning Trump. Actually, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm gonna have to go home and take a shower after this. I give her credit out of all of them because she actually picked a fight with Trump. She gave up her political career. So she actually put her money where her mouth is, to use a phrase. The rest of Tucker doesn't say a single anti-Trump word. He acts like the war in Iran came down from the skies. Look, we wouldn't be in this war in Iran had Tucker not promoted Trump for president, had Candace not promoted Trump for president, had Megyn Kelly not promoted Trump for president. We're in this war. Joe Rogan, Theo Von, all these guys. Did you watch Joe and Theo the other day saying they're fucking terrorists, Israel?
Literally, now it's all switching. My father, my brothers, all my family who promoted Trump for all this time, now they're all of a sudden so upset at Israel. And I'm like, girl, and I get it and I love it. But see how it's not going to be enough? My father, my brothers will be upset about what Israel is doing. And on the same front, they're still going to vote Republican. They're still going to be a conservative. They're still going to be America first. They're still going to be anti-gay, still be transphobic, honestly, still be racist, right? Like, yeah, that's still going to happen. So I'm saying, yes, I agree. I love my family so much. I want to protect them. I want to give them housing and education, everything else. And I'm still not going to pretend like they're not bigoted. I love them and they're working on it. But Jesus, How hard is it not to be anti-Black? How hard is it not to be, racist? How hard is it not to be homophobic? It's very hard. And while you are figuring it out, yes, we will work for class consciousness, and yes, we will strive for these things. And also, it won't happen in our lifetime, as it didn't happen in Marx and as it didn't happen before. And we will continue for thousands of years to attempt to move humanity in a direction that it literally, naturally has not engaged in, but maybe might one day. I want us to have a deeper relationship with our biological experience. I want us to realize we're animals. I want us to realize this idea of thought and intelligence and activism that we give ourselves so much credit for is just a biological experience you're having. And it's meaningful and it's important and it exists and it's real. And you are more too than this biological experience in a sense, because I think I'm a me and I think you're you. And also we give ourselves so much credit. Look at all this great work these men are doing. These men are doing things you would never be able to do. Okay, give me the microphone. Oh, but you didn't make me famous, did you? You made him famous. You made all the men famous. Go ahead and make me famous. But see, you're not going to, and thank God, because I don't want a girl. I pray to the universe every day. Don't let it happen. But you didn't. You don't. You don't make marginalized people famous. You don't like the way that they expect to be treated with dignity when seated at the table. You want them to shut up while we, quote, move everybody in a direction. So you'll never make me famous because I won't sit at a table in which you do not respect me. But you won't respect me because I don't fight within this patriarchal framework that you so continue to uplift while talking about dismantling capitalism as if patriarchy and capitalism aren't lovers. So yeah, you enjoy that. I hope you win. Good luck, girls. Class consciousness and all that. But I'm not going to throw every marginalized person under the bus. Okay? I'm not going to throw little kids under the bus, children under the bus, to, quote, support a person who's willing to throw us under the bus while they, quote, move us into the future. The future looks about the same at this point. Probably because you guys keep trying to do the same fucking shit over and over again. It's not working. I don't know. Maybe for once do it different. Maybe that's a good idea. I saw someone over on my commentary channel where I talked about, hey, the boys are seriously suffering. No, like, seriously? They were like, oh, so all you care about is kids? All you care is about little boys? What about grown men? Never happy. Never ready. A grown man in my comments talking about, what about me? When I'm talking about kids being blown up in fucking Lebanon. What about me? But what about me? What do I? Girl, you have all of the resources. Figure it out. I support you getting better too. I show you a boy whose father was blown into pieces in front of him, and your reaction is, what about me? Come on now. Now, to be fair, maybe some of these commenters think I'm saying the same thing, right? Like this person here. They're like, Brittany, you're so privileged. You're sitting behind a computer screen while Hasan's putting himself out there. As if Hasan also doesn't sit behind a computer screen. Do you think I should become a political person? Is that what you're saying? Should I change my whole career? Should I do it? Would you like me to? Are you asking me? Are you inviting me? Are you telling me, oh, your existence isn't enough. The work you do isn't enough. That no matter what I do, I won't be good enough? Or are you inviting me to the table? Should I say RSVP yes? I'll take the plant-based meal, thank you. Is that what you're saying? So if I go out and do all the things Hasan is doing, I'll be one of the good ones, right? Is that how it works? All right, girl. All of this to say, Chet says Hasan has the highest hours of live streaming. He literally sits behind a computer 7 days a week. Listen, he's doing good work, right? He's doing good work. It's just not good enough. And I'm sorry that you might feel like I'm your mother telling you, that's nice, not good enough. But that's nice, not good enough. But it's not me who put myself in that position. It's you. You wanted to be famous. You wanted the microphone. Okay, girl, I hear you. Not good enough. If only he was just a streamer. If only he was just a streamer. Then he would have been good enough. Obviously, or maybe not, honestly. Maybe even then not enough. But that's only because, we're actually striving for less bigotry in the world. Chad says, I know kids are being blown up, but have you ever considered that I'm sad? It's like, yeah, I know that genocide is happening, but but that's how they think we sound, by the way. That's how they think we sound. They're saying kids are being blown up in Lebanon. Who cares if you're gay? As if gay kids aren't also being blown up in Lebanon. As if gay kids aren't also being blown up in Palestine, in Iran. As if gay kids aren't also being killed in America. Like they're doing this thing like, oh my God, like kids are being blown up in a genocide. Who cares what your skin color is? Well, apparently you do. Apparently this administration does. Apparently you guys made us make it about those things because we're literally in this position. That's what I'm saying. You act like Pride wasn't a reaction. You act like all of these movements weren't reactions. You act like Marxism wasn't a reaction. You act like we're not reacting. We're reacting to the status quo. And now you're telling us stop reacting to the status quo, but also we're going to react to the status quo by blowing up buildings and shooting people in the streets. Okay, so Luigi gets to kill a CEO and you guys praise him, but I can't complain about racism or homophobia? Okay, cool, bro. Okay, cool. Got it. Under this framework, men may kill men. Men may kill people, but I can't say, hey guys, I'm like, that offended me. Got it. Cool. See how patriarchy, capitalism, all these like movements, even honestly at this point, I don't even know what they mean by class consciousness, but you see how all these movements still rely on violence as the answer because they can't deconstruct away from patriarchy. The violent rhetoric is considered liberation for them. Men have tried to use violence as a form of liberation forever. It's never worked. Not worked in the long term. It's worked temporarily as a cope, obviously. It's not a long-term solution. We should not be fighting these battles in 2026. But we are, because 2026 is not that different than 2,000 years ago. You think it is, but is it not the same? Is everything not in the Communist Manifesto exactly what's happening right now? Is it not exactly what's happening right now? Okay, so we didn't learn. It didn't happen. And now you magically think it's about to happen. You know what I'm saying? What is the actual solution here? And how do we obtain it without throwing marginalized people under the bus? And by the way, these fires that are happening, it's trending right now. All of these buildings and warehouses that are being blown up and everyone's like, class consciousness, class consciousness. I think it's, interesting, right? But see how it's still coming at the expense of people, and see how it's still coming at the expense of the planet, and see how it's still coming at the expense of everybody else? Do you know what I'm saying? Can we please create a movement that doesn't have to come at the expense of everybody else? But no, men want it. They want people to die. Men as a structure, they want there to be a war. They literally either want it or they're all playing with our fucking lives right now. Because as far as I can see, all these men are becoming millionaires. Well, all the marginalized communities they claim to fight for can't pay their rent. So make it make sense. Make it make sense. And I'm sick of seeing it, and I'm sick of people ignoring it because you keep associating me with some fucking losers on the internet that are all predators and capitalists and totally bad faith. Stop seeing me and not seeing me. I'm a different person with different beliefs. But if you're going to continue showing up in my comment sections, just know you might be featured on the stream. Because you exactly prove my point. You do not care about people. You only care about winning. Politics truly is where good people go to die.